Hola y bienvenidos a Deuces Wild Daily Hustle, baby. Soy Enrique Byrnes y presidente es el mejor cerveza. Y 818 es el mejor tequila. No abate por No Filter Network hoy. Will the Thrill Clark. Y Miguelito Santiaguito, a.k.a. Bobby Barrel, a.k.a. Bobby Ballhall, not with us today. But dead or alive, here or not here, we, of course, properly salute our boys. Yes, 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 yes. Woo! Remember this, folks. When we are juiceful, we are useful. And when we are juiceless, we are fucking useless. It's as simple as that. Our title sponsor today, besides the KT tape on this side of the screen, you see the QR code, is also Bet Online. That's right. It's betonline. I just texted Joe to get this thing. It is, one second, please. I thought I did. Maybe not. I want to say it's betonline.ag. That is it. Finally. Sorry about that. It's a Texas showdown in the postseason, and BetOnline is your number one source for all your baseball wagering info with up-to-the-minute stats, news, scores, and matchup breakdowns. Get all the latest game odds, spreads, and tools for the NFL and college football at your fingertips with BetOnline's real-time updates on statistics, news, and odds. We have everything you need to stay up to speed on each LCS all the way through the World Series. Head to the website today or use your mobile device to get in on the action. Don't forget to use the promo code BELIEVE, BLEAV. We are part of the Believe Podcast Network here at Deuces Wild and the Daily Hustle. So put that promo code in and you will receive 50% off your welcome bonus and your first deposit. Bet Online, where the game starts. So, as you guys know, we like to promote alcohol, tobacco, firearms, and gambling on No Filter Network. Oh, my goodness. The KT tape that I mentioned before, look, it's the skin prep wipes to make sure your skin is clear before putting on the tape. And this is the Pro Oxygen tape. This is the good shit. You put it on, it lifts the skin basically up. What that means, I don't know. But what it does is it promotes blood flow. I do know that. I am not a doctor. I did not stay at a Holiday Inn Express last night. But I do know that I put the tape on and it works. And as does the blister prevention. If you're going for a long hike or run out in the mountains, make sure to put that on. But do not leave home without this, folks. This is your Chafe Safe. Maximum chafing protection, fast application, sweat and water resistant. That's right. Keep the package clean, tight, neat, all of the above. It is critical. All right, today's Daily Hustle. Electronic email communication basically goes out every day before I do the DH. Getting into a nice little rhythm now of getting on the treadmill and writing these things. And really, it helps me script the show. It helps you guys stay on point. We like to cross-pollinate between social media, the Daily Hustle blog that goes out to thousands of people, as well as this Deuces Wild Daily Hustle podcast. So this morning's DH title, Philly Savages. Oh, we know that. Buenos dias. Today is Thursday, October 19, 2023. Last night, the Astros continued their postseason dominance on the road and took down Max Scherzer and the Texas Rangers in Arlington. And by the way, look, I don't want to be that guy to come on here and say I told you so. But it was clearly laid out on yesterday's Deuces Wild Daily Hustle. Take the Astros. They've been dominant on the road. They have been there and done that before. They're not scared of a 2-0 lead. They, in their minds, I imagine, have nothing to fucking lose. They had Christian Javier, who's been throwing the ball really, really well, going up against Max Scherzer. But don't let the name fool you. Although this future Hall of Famer is still very effective, he hadn't pitched in over a month. And he was hurt before that and not pitching well. So you just looked at that game and it seemed like a slam dunk for the Houston Astros. And sure enough, it was. The series is now 2-1 Rangers with game 4 tonight at 5 p.m. Pacific time. Meanwhile, the Diamondbacks hope to get into the win column at home today against the red hot Philadelphia Phillies. By the way, it will be 103 degrees in Phoenix. Look, if you're in Arizona today, and even if you're not a Diamondbacks fan, do your state a favor. Do Phoenix a favor. Do the Diamondbacks a favor. Just go to the game to escape the heat. That's it. The Daily Hustle quote of the day. The Phillies have the pedigree, the star power, and a lot of facial hair. They look like a beer league softball team that will beat you by mercy rule while rallying around the keg in their dugout before challenging you to a fist fight on your way to the parking lot. AZ Sports. That's it. That's exactly what the Phillies are. I knew I'd see this team before. I feel like I'm back playing for the Dutch Goose at Neyland Park on Wednesday nights going toe-to-toe with the Byrnes Brawlers. Look, we use the term savage way too often these days, but make no mistake about it. This group of Phillies are playing like fucking savages. If Arizona wants to get back into this thing, they're going to have to last longer on the keg stands and literally might have to fight these dudes in the parking lot. The DBacks have had a terrific year, but the core of their group is still super young, and I'm just not sure they have enough fuck you in them to pull this off. Tune in today's Daily Hustle live, nofilter.net, or download on Apple, Spotify, or wherever else you may choose to consume this golden content. And by the way, check this out. As of last night, our Deuces Wild podcast had climbed to number 3 on the baseball podcast charts of toppodcast.com. I don't know what any of this shit means. I don't know how they measure it. I like to think I know how they measure it. I know I got to believe it's downloads, it's reviews. But apparently, one of our guys over at Believe was saying that they measure by the amount of growth as well. So that's why we shot up to number 4 on this other podcasting chart, yet then dropped back down to 14 or 15 because we settled in with the X amount of downloads that we were getting. So that all said, who gives a shit? We think it's good. Hopefully you guys think it's good. We know it's raw. We know it's real. We're going to come on here. We're going to talk about the biggest stories in baseball. We'll expand a little bit too, obviously, as we get into the college football and NFL season and trenches. This is a show that is going to take place all year. And right now, we're going to be really, really baseball heavy, but stick with us. We feel like we can entertain each other on a daily basis. It says you guys downloading and then leaving a review is how this stuff gets measured. I said that, but I don't even know that. It's actually, I'm not going to call it bullshit. I have heard that before from other podcast platforms. Look, download it, leave a review, yada, yada, yada. Well, I figure they know a lot more about this than I do, so please download the show, leave a review, and we go from there. Thrill, I would be greatly appreciative of a 5-star ranking if you're feeling generous. If not, whatever. Then left the direct link to the Deuces Wild podcast on Apple. All right, let's get into the baseball from last night. The Astros travel road back into ALCS with Game 3 win. There isn't a team that's more comfortable playing at Globe Life Park than the Astros, who returned to the site of their 3-game destruction of the Rangers last month and broke out offensively Wednesday night in Game 3 of the American League Championship Series. The heroes on the offensive side with Jose Altuve hitting another postseason homer. This is insane. You ready for it? 25 postseason homers for Jose Altuve. It is unfathomable to think that this little bitty guy, 5'5", barely, has 25 postseason homers. I've said this before on Deuces Wild. I've said it before on the Daily Hustle. If this dude is not inspiration to each and every one of us, there's something wrong with you. There's something wrong with me, because all the bullshit that went down and people blaming him for that cheating scandal, I told you guys before. I've talked to Josh Reddick. Josh Reddick was on that team. He said Jose Altuve did not cheat, did not want the signs. And then you watch a guy like Yordan Alvarez, who is a physical specimen. I mean, this guy just looks the part. He's the best hitter in the postseason, a menacing presence. It's getting to the point where you don't even want to fuck with him. Pitch around him, put him on, whatever. But there is zero chance, if I'm Bruce Bochy, that I'm going to let that guy beat me. You get beat by the guys around him, fine. Yordan Alvarez is not going to beat me. So, Martin Maldonado and Yordan Alvarez came up with clutch RBI hits. It says, but the game may have swung on a tumbling catch in the 6th inning by 36-year-old Michael Brantley. This was a sick play. And he's not known as a great outfielder. It says he couldn't help but crack a rare grin. And that's so true. He doesn't smile all that often. He is a really nice guy. I've interviewed him before at MLB Network and ran into him in the locker room, actually, during a game in Houston a few years ago. But other than that, and by the way, he was really cool to Biscuit. I always like judging people a lot of times how they judge kids. And Michael Brantley just seems to be an awesome guy. It says the smiles were all around the visiting clubhouse at Globe Life after the Astros beat the Rangers 8-5 to put themselves in position to tie the series with a win in Thursday's game. Texas leads the best of 7 series 2-1. But the Astros may have seized some momentum with one of their most complete victories of the postseason. Down in the series 0-2, it feels like we had no chance. But to win tonight, said Altuve, who hit his 25th career postseason homer in the 3rd inning. In all, best of 7 postseason series, teams behind 2-1 after 3 games have gone on to win 30% of the time. Teams that have won Game 3 after trailing 2-0 have come back to take the series 26% of the time. So the odds are still in the Rangers' favor. Like, it looks like 70%. But I would caution people just by looking at those numbers and trying to figure out what's going to happen, because this Astros team is dangerous. Here's a quote from Ryan Presley. I don't think we ever really necessarily got off track. He's 14 or save chances in his career in the postseason. It was more getting in the groove of things. This team has been in the postseason so many years. We know how to bounce back, and hopefully we keep that momentum going. Christian Javier ran a streak of consecutive scoreless innings in the postseason to 20 and a third by sending down 14 of the first 15 batters he faced. He threw 5 2/3 innings of 2-run ball to improve to 4-0 with a .82 ERA in 4 career playoff starts. Rangers rookie Josh Jung ended the scoreless streak with the first of his 2 home runs. How about that? Josh Jung, good on him. But Houston's offense was too much for Max Scherzer. Maldonado's 2-run single capped the 3-run third inning. Altuve took Scherzer deep in the third for a 4-0 lead. All right. So the story here then, as the article goes on and on, is, did Max Scherzer come back too early? I don't know. I can't answer that. But I think it just really depended on Scherzer and how he felt. There is one thing that I thought about that is an interesting approach the Rangers could have taken, or they can take going forward with Scherzer. Here's a guy that's done it all. More than anything, I'm telling you, he's a baseball player. This guy loves playing baseball. So the one thing that he hasn't really done in his career, in which I think he'd be fucking fantastic at, is coming out of the bullpen. Now, you're not going to replace Leclerc, who's been closing games for the Texas Rangers. But think about a high leverage situation and going to the pin and having Max Scherzer there ready and available to take the ball. I think that is huge. Like right now, I'd have to look at it. But if you pitch game 3, a lot of times that sets you up to pitch game 7. And I'm not sure if this is going to go 7, but I feel like it is. It just has that feeling of a series where the Astros are not going to fold. So even if they do lose the next one and go down 3-1, I still have all the confidence in the world in them winning the next 2. You got one more in Texas, and then you go back to Houston. You have to win game 6 there. This definitely has all the makings of that. Now, Scherzer was called out by fans for his struggle in the ALCS. And then basically, they have a bunch of tweets or social media posts that dig into Scherzer a little bit. It says MLB fans were ready to rip him since poor outing. SportsCenter says this postseason hasn't been kind to Max Scherzer as of late. He's allowed 12 earned runs over his last 2 postseason appearances. No, they're showing some kind of like, look, that was SportsCenter. Here's Fox Sports. Max Scherzer's day's done. I don't think that's ripping him at all. It says Astros with 3 runs on Max Scherzer in the second inning. Me watching Max Scherzer get shelled in the postseason. And they have a meme of a guy saying, I've seen this a ton of times. They have Jose Altuve saying, Mark Craig, baseball writer, says if this keeps up, the umps should start using the between innings substance checks to provide Max Scherzer with some sticky stuff. That's kind of funny. Max Scherzer under the lights. Then they got Trump, just whatever. Max Scherzer looking in the mirror tomorrow morning. Look, let's hold on a second, because you want to rip one of the best pitchers who's ever pitched, like ever. He is statistically going to go down as one of the greatest pitchers of all time. Yet the guy fights his ass off over the past month at 30 some odd years old to come back to give it everything he has in the postseason. Well, it didn't work out. But you know what? He battled to go 5 innings, and he gave up just 5 runs. So it wasn't like a complete and total disaster. He had 1 walk and 4 strikeouts. This is where there's major disconnect between the fans and the athlete. Because as a former athlete, I realize, know, and understand everything that Max Scherzer did over the past month to get his ass ready to try to contribute to help his team advance to the World Series. Yet he goes out there and gives up 5 runs, 1 walk, 4 strikeouts, 5 hits. What is it? Trying to get the numbers here. 4 innings pitched, excuse me on that. And you think it's the end of the fucking world. No gratitude, no appreciation. And I don't think Max Scherzer needs that. He knows that he would have liked to have had a better outing. But he also doesn't need to be getting fucking bombarded by baseball fans and Rangers fans saying that he shouldn't have come back or he sucks or any of the other stuff. This is where a lot of people will try to use it as a way to make funny jokes and everything. And I get it. Like the Mark Craig thing was good. And if I'm Max Scherzer, hey, it comes with the territory, right? Same guy that has thrown, I believe, perfect game, no hitters, like all the fucking above. He's got World Series titles to his name. This dude ain't tripping one bit. But I would, again, caution the normal baseball fan to step back and realize that this motherfucker didn't have to come back. He didn't have to try to get himself ready. He could have cruised on in to the offseason, counting his Benjamins, going, I'm good, man. I'll come back next year. That didn't happen because that's not who Max is. Max is a fighter, and he went out there and fought for you guys. Did it work out? No, it didn't work out. But look, who's to say he won't pitch some big innings for the Rangers either in this championship series or potentially in the World Series? I still would not look past having him come out of the bullpen in a big situation. I won't do it. I think he's capable of doing that. I think he would embrace that role. I think he would love the role. And that's if he's not the Game 7 starter. So I think you'd have to look at the Rangers' options and to see who's available. But pretty much when you get to Game 6 and 7, it's all hands on deck. All right. Sick play last night by Leody Taveras. This is the younger brother of Willie Taveras, who I played against. This guy is legit. He reminds me of his brother flying around the outfield, but he made an incredible catch on a ball hit by Yordan Alvarez that left his bat at 111.1 miles per hour. The ball traveled 416 feet with a 25-degree launch angle. You ready for this? The expected batting average on Alvarez's hit was 1,000. How about that? 1,000. That basically means every other past comparable hit in terms of factors such as exit velocity and launch angle during the entire StatCast era, so it's 2015, has resulted in a hit until last night, and Yordan Alvarez got robbed by Leody Taveras. I mean, seriously. How about that? I wonder the number of balls. I'm not sure if it actually says here. It says it would have left 22 of 30 ballparks. I want to know where a 111 mile per hour ball off a bat at 25-degree launch angle is not going to leave the ballpark. That doesn't make any sense at all. So good on the Rangers for snagging that one. Sissy, good morning. What do you got there for me? Chocolate, protein powder, coffee, shake. Thank you, honey. The daughter knows her way after her daddy's heart. All right. So today we're going to run this thing back. You got the Rangers hosting the Astros once again. That game is going to be at 5 o'clock. The Diamondbacks take on the Phillies. This game is going to be at 2 p.m. Pacific time. The only thing I can say to these schedulers is what the fuck? Why? For an NLCS Game 3, are we playing at 2 o'clock in the afternoon? This does not make any sense. Zero. If you want the 3-hour gap in between games and you still want that 5 p.m. Pacific time primetime game, 8 p.m. on the East Coast, go the opposite direction. Especially when a game's played on the West Coast, started at 8 p.m. It's 103 fucking degrees in Arizona today, too. So, like I mentioned earlier in the show, I guess this could be an escape from the heat, and hopefully the Diamondbacks will get fans there that way. The other thought is that if you're going to the game, a lot of the Diamondbacks fan base is from Tucson. So it's an early trek up to 10 to get there for that. It says how to watch Game 3. It is on TBS. Hold on a sec. It says 5:07, but it's not 5:07. I mean, that's got to be Eastern time. It's Ranger Suarez versus Brandon Pfaadt. Pfaadt. My wife tried to tell me I wasn't pronouncing it the right way. That's bullshit. You don't have a name like that and not pronounce it fat. That's a fat name, like in a good way. Fat. PF, right? Makes a lot of sense. And by the way, good morning to the Daily Hustlers. Pete, John, RJ, firing away in the chat. John Emmanuel Ramos, Henderson, Michelle Drew out in Phoenix. We got Billy from Birmingham. I mean, we're definitely international, of course, with John Emmanuel Ramos Henderson watching from Makati City each and every single day. Suarez, Ranger Suarez, that is, was excellent during the NLDS against the Atlanta Braves, holding them to 1 run in 8 2/3 innings across 2 starts. Rob Thompson figures to be aggressive with his bullpen, coming in after a day off with a chance to build a 3-0 lead. Fat, Pfaadt, had an ugly regular season statistics, really, but has surrendered 3 runs in 7 postseason innings across 2 starts. This will be his first big league outing against the Phillies. All right, here's the prediction. And this is from CBSSports.com. We root for every series to go the maximum length. That means the Diamondbacks need to win and soon. On paper, the Phillies have the advantage. We'll go with Arizona all the same. Even if we concede, a Game 7 is unlikely. Pick Diamondbacks 5, Phillies 4. I don't see it. I just don't. That just talks about how good Ranger Suarez has been. I think the Diamondbacks could score some runs. I just don't see anybody stopping the Phillies offense at this point. I don't. And look, This might be a bullpen game for the Diamondbacks, but still, the Phillies are operating on an entirely new level at this point. So I think the big storyline is, will the AZ fans show up? There's another one here that I wanted to get to. Nick Castellanos NLCS Game 1 homer was such a special moment for his son, Liam. Look, Liam's becoming a star right now. He really is. We have some of this smoothie here for a second. The one thing about doing a show by yourself, you don't get to take your coffee and smoothie breaks as someone else rants on. So Liam has been seen sitting in that front row. And I don't know whose tickets he got, but it is so cool to watch him interact with the players, interact with his dad. There's a little bit of an article about it, providing a little context. The only person in Philadelphia having a better week than Philly slugger Nick Castellanos is his 10-year-old son, Liam. The Castellanos family lives in South Florida. So Nick and Liam are away from each other during the baseball season. Now, while Liam was often seen in the Phillies clubhouse during the summer, he returned to Florida when school started. So by the time Liam was able to attend Game 3 of the NLDS last week, it had been more than a month since Castellanos had seen his son. Oh, that's tough. I wouldn't do it. No way. You can't go more than like 2 weeks. I used to do it all the time with the MLB Network. And I'd get to that 2-week mark and literally was like, I got to go home. This is fucking awful. It hurts. And you come home, your kids are a different size and not interested whatsoever in having that separation that long. It says, with Liam sitting behind home plate, Castellanos crushed 2 homers in that game and then 2 more in the following game. Since Liam got to Philadelphia, all the Phillies have done is win. He was back in his usual spot in the front row Monday night, and his dad hit yet another home run. He's making it look easy, Castellanos is. And what a cool thing to do that with your son right there. And I spent a lot of time with my kid, obviously. And I think as they get older, like that 10 range, it becomes more of a friendship than it does even a father-son thing. And there's times where your father, that's definitely son. But I do think it's also such a cool age because that's your buddy, that's your pal. That's your best boy, like right there for you. So it says, with this video from the stand shows a cool moment. It was for Liam. Not only did he go ballistic celebrating, he got a high five from on-deck hitter Brandon Marsh, and then a point from his dad as he returned to the dugout. Liam's usual seat near the on-deck circle puts him in a perfect position to give his dad some last-minute advice before he steps to the plate. And this is a quote from Castellanos that he told reporters on Saturday. Quote, he tells me to hit it over the fence every time. That's it. That's all he needs. In the 3 games that Liam has attended, Castellanos has repeatedly heeded his son's advice. He has 5 homers in the past 3 games, the first player since Reggie Jackson to go deep 5 times in a span of 3 postseason games. Absolutely insane. Here's a fun story about Stephon Diggs as we transition to football a little bit. In the Bills' last home game, Diggs used 2 beers from fans to celebrate his first touchdown of the game. This week, which was actually last week, he left 2 cold ones on the season ticket holder seats. In week 4, Buffalo Bills star Stephon Diggs celebrated the first of his 3 touchdown catches against Miami Dolphins by grabbing 2 Miller High Lifes from the fans and then spraying them. At the next Bills home game, Sunday night against the New York Giants, the favor was returned. The Bills' social media team took a picture with a note that says, quote, I told you I got you. Beers on me, Steph, ahead of the game. The beers pictured were not actually left out for the season ticket holders. Diggs grabbed them from on the touchdown celebration so that they would not be taken by their fans, but the team's ticket office located the right fans and placed the amount for the 2 beers in their account for them to enjoy. You gotta leave the fucking beers. You gotta have somebody personally hand deliver the beers. You don't put money in the account for them to go get 2 more beers. And by the way, it's not even the money when it comes to beers. It's the line. So who from the Bills is going to go stand in fucking line for the 2 fans? I didn't know exactly where the story was going to go. I love Stephon Diggs' gesture, but we got to leave a couple cold frosties there or hand deliver them. Anyway, the celebration came with just over 10 minutes remaining in the second quarter. The Bills' 48-20 win over the Dolphins. Diggs slammed the beers together and sprayed them in celebration like retired WWE superstar Stone Cold Steve Austin. He said, yeah, I owe somebody like $18. It's more than that, dude. That's like $18 a beer, Diggs said after the game. Beers in Highmark Stadium naturally cost a bit more than that. Tall cans of beer at Highmark Stadium cost $16.50 a piece. Diggs, you ready for this? It even got more costly. He was fined $13,659 under unsportsmanlike conduct for this celebration. He finished the game with 6 receptions for 120 yards and 3 touchdowns. He has 100 receiving yards in 4 games this season. The wide receiver has continued a theme of memorable celebrations this season, doing a Sayu celebration like Cristiano Ronaldo after a touchdown last week versus the Jacksonville Jaguars. Okay, the business world, I told you I'd get to this yesterday and I didn't, is paying attention to primetime and what is going on there. There's an article in the Wall Street Journal, and it says it's prime time for bosses to pay attention to Deion Sanders. Some really good points here. Everyone from The Rock to 60 Minutes swooned over Deion Sanders after he led one of college football's worst teams to a 3-0 record early this season. To business gurus, though, this is the moment that Coach Prime and his swagger really got interesting. Now that his Colorado Buffaloes have lost 2 of the last 3 games, the true test of Sanders' hyper-confident leadership style is whether it can withstand defeat, they say. Confidence is absolutely key because people need to believe that you know which levers to pull, whether you really know or not, says Carter Pate, who specializes in corporate restructuring at PricewaterhouseCoopers before a 3-year stint as the chief executive of MV Transportation. What always hangs in the back is be careful how much you hype if you can't back it up. Sports leadership lessons don't always translate to business, though they may be more applicable in the corporatized era of college athletics that Sanders embodies. Neon Deion, as the flashy Hall of Famer is known, is less a coach of student athletes than a boss of young professionals. He has taken a chief executive's approach to cleaning house and rebranding and has vaulted a moribund program to pop culture sensation. Inheriting a team that won a single game last year, just one. He overhauled the Colorado roster by capitalizing on a relatively new rule that lets college athletes transfer without sitting out a year, as was required in the past, because Sanders' program has gotten so much buzz. His players have better odds of landing endorsement deals, another recent change that upends traditional notions of amateurism. Though Sanders' resume commands instant respect, legendary former players sometimes struggle to lead less talented charges and often don't make the best coaches. Few, if any, of Sanders' Colorado players are as gifted as he, yet it appeared at times like he sprinkled some of his ability on the Prime 21 sunglasses he gave to each of them. Look good, feel good, play good is Coach Prime's motto. Let me further that. It's look good, feel good, play good, get paid good. And it's not just Coach Prime's. That's just been going around the league for years. Heard it real early on in professional baseball. And it's right. Pate, who now sits on 3 public company boards, is a longtime Dallas Cowboys season ticket holder who witnessed Sanders' almost supernatural athleticism during his playing career. In addition to winning 2 Super Bowls, Sanders played 9 seasons of Major League Baseball. And check this out. He also ran track at Florida State. Pete says that as a PWC consultant and managing partner, he distributed his own kind of good luck charm to clients. He left his mobile phone number off his business cards just so he could scroll it in pen on the back. He'd hand the cards to executives at floundering companies and tell them to call if there was ever a crisis, making each feel like they were getting special access to a lifeline. I like that approach. Look, I'm not afraid to hand out that cell. I mean, either is Kowalski, and by the way, if you guys need to get a hold of Kowalski, let's everyone send him a text message today. I mean, we have a new crowd, a big audience here. And so with this new audience, I think it's imperative that we hit Kowalski up. 480-529-5756. This was my Savannah Bananas bench coach. He is an aspiring pickleball player now, although he sent me a picture of him fucking playing tennis this morning. He was the co-host of the Daily Hustle and just a champion of people, a champion of life. Let's let him know he's missed. Ready for this? 480-529-5756. Let's send Kowalski a message and make him feel special. That's a cool strategy, though, writing your number on the back, because I would be a lot more apt to call somebody if I needed something, if their personal number is, oh, yeah, man, I'll call my guy Bill over at such and such. Anyhow, it says a bright future here. Jason Forrest says he's been studying coaches for 20 years, looking for tips he can use in the sales and leadership trainings run by Forrest Performance Group. His favorites include Duke University basketball coach Mike Krzyzewski and New England Patriots coach Bill Belichick, whose understated work ethics he admires. So I'm with him. The loquacious, I'm not sure I've ever used that word. The loquacious. What a great word. I got to implement that more. That's Loquacious. Coach Prime is his latest fascination, partly because Colorado upset Texas Christian University, TCU, that is, Forrest's alma mater, in the first game of the season. Now, remember, TCU was in the national championship game last year. Now, they got blown out, but here's Colorado that won one game, and they show up the next season and take down a team that was in the national championship as 21-point underdogs. That's a big deal. He describes Sanders as a benevolent alpha, a leader who earns subordinates' trust by showing he cares while holding them to his own high standard. That's a model for contemporary management. In Forrest's view, as many executives struggles with employees' loss of ambition. The key, he says, is to be upbeat yet realistic and assertive in a way that spreads confidence to others. Being too domineering can have the opposite effect. Quote, they need to borrow your certainty during uncertain times. I like that. Alvin Sanders, no relation to the coach, says pumping up his staff was a priority when he became president and CEO of World Impact, a Christian ministry training nonprofit. In 2017, a longtime fan and student of Sanders' career, he pulled a primetime move when he gathered the team to chart a path out of a budget deficit at the start of his tenure. He handed out sunglasses. I told them, our future's so bright, we're going to need these, Alvin Sanders recalls. I was trying to give them some swagger. All right, I like this because I do think there's direct correlation between sports and business. As much as you could try to argue that there's not. Look, if you want to run a successful team and you want to run a successful business, there's some parallels that you have to have. You have to, like, everyone's got to have a mission. You have to know what you're doing. You have to pay attention to details. You have to focus on literally putting one foot in front of the other. You have to find something that's scalable. You have to create a positive work environment that continues to motivate the employees. All of these things are imperative. And when you watch Coach Prime, as flamboyant as it may look that he is, it's a little bit of a front, because he also comes across as one of the most human and humble dudes that I've ever known. Now, there's a aura about him, right? We're coming, baby. We coming. And then it's like, we ain't coming no more. We here. And they rode that confidence. And then they had a couple tough beatdowns. One was SC. The other one was Oregon, at Oregon. And they hung with SC for a while. But then they got Stanford. And they had a chance to obviously put them away. They were up 29-0. And Stanford came back and ended up winning that game. The second largest comeback in Pac-12 history, the largest comeback in Stanford's history, the largest lead blown by Colorado. And the question became, how was Dion going to react at that point? And then he went on his monologue about, look, got a bunch of guys in here that like the sport. It's not good enough. You want to be great, you can't like it. You got to love it. And he talked about complacency and what it means to be on top and what it means to finish. And he wasn't happy with the way things were going before halftime. He actually went in there at halftime and tore into him a little bit because of a few series that he felt got away from the Buffs at the end of the first half. They were still up 29-0. So I would caution all coaches a little bit. Look, when you're up 29-0 and you have this commanding lead, let's go back to focusing on the details, but let's make sure we praise them. And I get it. I really do. But I do think that if you're up 29-0 and then the hammer gets dropped at half, and I know what as a coaching staff you're trying to do, and I probably would have done the same thing before I heard of this collapse. But they were trying to get them all fired up to go out there and play even better football than they had. But what happened was the guys went back out there, and I think they were anxious, and they're like, well, I'm at 29. That's not enough, and we got to get more. And they started trying to do things that they're not capable of doing instead of just going back to the basics, going back to simplifying things and not trying to do too much. Well, as that gap closed and all of a sudden it was a tie game, you just had that feeling it's over. They're fucked. And sure enough, they were. So let's see if they can get back on track this week. Tonight, I'm out heading to Viva Las Vegas. Joe Giuseppe Pepe Manuel and I will be at Circa. That's right, watching some Thursday night football. We got a date over at Barry's. We're going to go see our guy Barry. This guy used to run 9 Steakhouse. Just awesome fucking dude. Can't wait. And then a big tourney for the Let Them Play boys in Vegas this weekend as well. So mixing a little business, mixing a little pleasure. Most likely no DH tomorrow. And we'll be back on Monday. But everyone have a fantastic weekend. Enjoy these playoffs. We'll keep you updated with videos and whatnot through social media as we continue to provide alternative broadcasts of what's going on in the baseball world. And once again, if you could leave a review on Apple, Spotify, wherever, we would greatly appreciate it. And thank you all who have helped make Deuces Wild the number 3 ranked baseball podcast. Let's get this bitch to number 1. Everyone have a great day. That's it.